Set in Europe, the story follows a man named Virgil Oldman, a professional auctioneer highly skilled in the world of fine art. He is widely known for his ability to appraise antiques with extraordinary precision, analyzing the material, origin, and even the century in which they were made. His reputation makes wealthy families entrust their valuable collections to him for auction. Virgil is a perfectionist by nature, easily irritated, always impeccably dressed, wearing gloves, dyeing his hair to hide the gray, and living a life of luxury. Yet behind this perfect facade, he has never married nor been close to a woman, as he believes he has never met one who is truly flawless. One day, on his birthday, Virgil receives a phone call from a woman named Claire. She asks for his help in evaluating antiques left in her parents' estate. Claire's father had instructed that if she ever wished to sell them, it must be through Virgil. Although such initial inspections are usually handled by his assistant, for some reason Virgil feels unusually intrigued by both the house and Claire herself. Meanwhile, Virgil remains busy with his career. He auctions off rare antiques, including works dating back to the 18th century and earlier, such as a telescope crafted by Galileo Galilei, which sells at an astonishingly high price.
Telescope constructed by the Italian scientist Galileo Galilei. 1,300,000, 1,400,000 on the sold.
Next, a painting was auctioned at a low price and was successfully sold to an elderly man with white hair.
8,000 euros, 1,000 online, 14,000, 20,000, any more?
As promised, Virgil finally came to Claire's house. The house appeared large, mysterious, and always locked. Because of the rain, Virgil chose to wait under shelter, but Claire never showed up and failed to keep her promise. On the other hand, Virgil was assisted by a man named Billy, who had long worked for him. Billy often helped Virgil purchase paintings at auctions. Virgil himself had a strong obsession with valuable portraits of women. He would often lie during auctions, concealing information about the artist or the painting's true value so that he could buy them cheaply. Afterward, he only paid Billy a small fee as the middleman. Billy, in fact, was an artist and often tried to show his own work to Virgil. However, Virgil always rejected him, believing Billy's paintings to be worthless. Behind his luxurious life, Virgil hid a great secret. He owned a hidden room secured with a code lock. Inside, he kept hundreds of portraits of women from various eras, all of them extremely valuable. For Virgil, these paintings were not just works of art, but perfect women that he considered substitutes for real relationships in his life. The next day, Claire called Virgil again. However, Virgil felt deeply offended. In his 36-year career, he had never once waited 40 minutes for a client. With his perfectionist nature and strict respect for time, it was only natural that he grew angry and hung up the phone. Claire tried calling again, but the call was answered only by Virgil's assistant, Lambert. Lambert mentioned that Claire was in tears, desperate to speak directly with Virgil. In fact, she even had an accident, bleeding and fainting while trying to meet him. Hearing this, Virgil reluctantly agreed to take Claire's call. She pleaded for him to meet her, and Virgil finally accepted. Although at first he planned to send his assistant, curiosity led Virgil to go to Claire's house himself. This time, the gate was open. While waiting, he met Fred, the caretaker of the house. Fred explained that Claire had been ill with a fever all night, which was why she couldn't meet Virgil. Once again, Virgil was offended because Claire hadn't informed him earlier. Still, Fred begged him to at least inspect the house's contents, even without Claire's presence. As he entered, Virgil was astonished by the sheer number of antiques in the house, including various priceless paintings. The house had apparently been abandoned for a year since Claire's parents had passed away. Claire, being an only child, had never married, had no partner, and rarely interacted with her extended family. Feeling lonely, she finally decided to sell off her parents' belongings. While checking the basement, Virgil discovered a peculiar object, an old, oddly shaped gear. He later brought it to his friend Robert, an expert in assembling machines. Virgil found it suspicious that the top part of the gear was rusty, when rust should normally form at the bottom due to the damp basement floor. This led him to suspect that someone might have intentionally turned the object upside down. Sometime later, Claire called Virgil again. She asked him to immediately begin cataloging the antiques in the house. At first, Virgil refused, insisting that by procedure the client must first sign an agreement, but Claire promised she would come and sign the documents on the same day the cataloging began.
Here it is. Mr. Oldman, could you help me with a bookcase?
Virgil began to sense something strange. Several antiques that had previously been in good condition suddenly appeared damaged, and some items seemed to have been moved around. From this, Virgil suspected that someone might actually be living inside the house. Not long after, Claire called Virgil using Fred's phone. With a rather convoluted excuse, she asked him to leave the contract agreement on the table since she couldn't come in person. But suddenly, the sound of something falling, a ladder, was heard, and the noise was also clearly audible through Claire's phone. That moment convinced Virgil even more that Claire was actually hiding somewhere inside the house. He then began trying to look for her.
No more of this. Who do you think you are? What kind of question is that?
Are you here?
Virgil discovered another gear similar to the previous one. After showing it to Robert, Robert confirmed that the material and mechanism were exactly the same. He was even convinced that both gears were part of a single, complete system. This made Virgil increasingly curious about the true function of these objects. In addition, Virgil's curiosity about Claire herself grew stronger. He even invited Fred out for a meal just to ask about her. From their conversation, Virgil learned that Claire was around 27 years old. Although Fred had worked for her family for 11 years, he had never once met Claire in person. The reason, he explained, was that Claire suffered from a strange condition that made her rarely interact with others. The next day, Virgil once again led an art auction. He deliberately set a low starting price in hopes of easily acquiring a particular painting. However, when a woman and Billy raised their hands at the same time for the highest bid, Virgil unfairly pointed only to Billy. The woman protested, insisting she had raised her hand first, and the other participants also noticed his dishonesty. In the end, Virgil was forced to sell the painting to the woman.
Terrafellianti forgeries, and I'll sue you.
Virgil scolded Billy for being too slow to raise his hand during the auction. He explained that the painting they had been bidding on was actually an authentic work by Petrus Christus, valued at up to 8 million euros. This only made Billy more upset, as he felt Virgil was merely using him as a tool. The next day, Virgil met Robert again. At that time, Robert was with two women at once, even though he already had a girlfriend. From Robert's research, the gear Virgil had found turned out to be the work of Jacques de Vaucanson, an 18th century inventor. Robert believed that the gear was part of a mechanical robot that was said to be able to speak. Hearing this explanation, Virgil, who was already familiar with Vaucanson's works, became even more curious. He wanted to search for more parts in Claire's house to complete the machine. Not long after, Robert's girlfriend Sarah arrived and invited him out for dinner.
Bye.
Goodbye.
The next day, Claire called Lambert and asked Virgil to come back to her house. Virgil once again entered the room where he had previously heard Claire's voice. This time, he finally discovered that Claire truly was there. It turned out that all this time, Claire had been confining herself in a secret room hidden behind a wall, and she had been doing so for 12 years. She even admitted that she had almost never met her own parents face to face. Claire explained that she had a deep fear of meeting other people. This was similar to Virgil, who always wore gloves because he refused to touch anyone directly. Even so, Claire would sometimes walk around the house, but only when no one else was there. She apologized to Virgil for all the trouble she had caused and hoped that he could understand her. In the end, Claire entrusted Virgil completely to determine the prices of the antiques in her house. She only asked that the contract be placed on the table, and she would sign it herself later.
What made you decide to call me again? I haven't been particularly kind to you.
That day was the last day of inspecting the antiques in Claire's house. Virgil also requested that every unique gear or machine they found be gathered with him. After the official contract was signed, Claire asked Virgil for help in filling out her personal information using her passport. Somehow, the conversation took a turn when Claire suddenly mentioned Virgil's hair, which was always dyed. She said she didn't like people who lacked confidence in their natural hair color. Her comment offended Virgil, as he felt his personal life had been intruded upon. Before leaving, Fred handed Virgil the house key. He explained that he would soon stop working at the house. Meanwhile, the collection of gears and mechanical materials had grown substantially. Virgil then began telling Robert about Claire's condition. She suffered from agoraphobia, an excessive fear or anxiety in open spaces. On the other hand, Virgil was growing tired of Claire's selfishness and fussiness, yet he also felt a strong curiosity and empathy for her condition. His curiosity intensified, especially about what Claire truly looked like. So intrigued, Virgil even decided to stop dyeing his hair and appear more natural, all to comply with Claire's wishes. Strangely, after that, Claire became unreachable for several days. Fred had fallen ill for a week and could not deliver food to Claire. Worried, Virgil finally went himself, bringing food along. He discovered that Claire had been sick and had even fainted. Yet, despite everything, Claire still refused to open her bedroom door.
Claire, what's wrong? Tell me what happened.
While in the painting collection room, Claire suddenly called Virgil. She thanked him for all his help and said that her condition had improved. Claire then shared that she wanted to sell her parents' house, as she felt it was too large to live in alone. She planned to start a new life in a smaller home. However, Claire was still unsure how she could leave the house given her condition, which made her afraid of meeting people. Virgil suggested that she not rush and take some time to think it over. During the conversation, it also came to light that Claire actually worked as a novelist, though she always used a pen name and never revealed her real identity. Afterward, Virgil confided in Robert about how curious he was about Claire. He even admitted that the more time passed, the more fascinated he became with the mysterious woman. Robert advised Virgil to look for an opportunity to see Claire in person. Meanwhile, the series of machines made from the gears they had found had started to be assembled. Gradually, the mechanism began to move and even produce sound.
What else could he do?
Well, I would have asked her to do the same.
Besides, I don't think my friend intends to court her.
Then, Virgil double-checked that all the antiques included in the catalog met Claire's preferences. Afterward, he pretended to have left the house. It turned out that Claire was indeed very beautiful. After secretly managing to catch a glimpse of her, Virgil called Claire so that she could leave quickly without realizing she had been seen. Meanwhile, Billy managed to acquire back a valuable painting worth 8 million euros by persuading an old collector and buying it for only 250,000 euros. Billy didn't ask Virgil for any payment, he only wanted to make Virgil happy. Virgil then met Robert to hand over the machine frames he had collected. After that, he returned to Claire's house. Strangely though, the locks had already been changed. Confused, Virgil went into a cafe across the street and tried calling Claire, but got no answer. In the cafe, he noticed a dwarf woman who kept reciting numbers until he saw Fred walking out of Claire's house. Virgil immediately approached him so he could get inside. Once inside, Virgil suggested that Claire try leaving the house so her life wouldn't remain trapped. Claire then shared that when she was a child, her parents once took her outside, but her body froze in panic. The only place that ever made her feel calm was a restaurant called Night and Day in Prague. Meanwhile, the robot frame built by Vaucanson, reconstructed by Robert, was nearly complete. On the other hand, Virgil was falling deeper in love with Claire. He said that she was a very beautiful and graceful woman. Since Claire's birthday was coming up in 2 days, Robert advised Virgil to give her flowers.
It's her birthday in 2 days. I'd like to get her something useful.
It's better to get her something more traditional.
Fred came to see Virgil and gave him many machine frames, knowing that Virgil was very interested in them. When Virgil was about to give Claire flowers, she suddenly became angry after seeing the price list of her belongings, which she thought had been appraised far too low. Claire accused Virgil of being both a thief and a fraud. Even though Virgil explained that those were only the starting prices for the auction, Claire still refused to listen to his explanation.
Bric-a-brac immediately. Face of the earth.
Virgil once again felt upset with Claire's attitude. Meanwhile, Robert was seen dating yet another woman. As Virgil sat drinking alone, Claire suddenly called him in tears, apologizing for always acting foolish. She admitted that she had never received flowers before, and since Virgil came into her life, everything felt so much better. Virgil then went back to Claire's house to talk, and that night, Claire seemed truly happy. One of the paintings she refused to auction off was a portrait of her mother. As Virgil was about to leave, he tried hiding behind a statue, but suddenly the sound of something breaking startled them, causing Claire to injure her foot. Virgil was deeply fascinated to see such a beautiful woman sucking the blood from her injured toe.
No, please get out! Go away!
For Virgil, what he had just witnessed was the embodiment of a woman's beauty. Just like art, something difficult to describe, yet holding immense value. Not long after, a frightened Claire called Virgil and begged him to come back to the house. After waiting for a while, Virgil went in again. There, he finally confessed that he had been hiding in the room earlier just so he could see Claire in person. Hearing this confession, Claire grew emotional and told Virgil to leave. But then, she felt she had been too harsh. Her feelings shifted, and instead, she wanted Virgil to stay. And in that very moment, for the first time, Virgil was finally able to meet Claire face to face. Virgil once again confided in Robert about Claire, describing how he had seen her with a pale, fearful face. Robert advised him to approach her slowly, treating her as he would any other woman. Following that advice, Virgil chose a beautiful dress for Claire. As he had expected, she looked elegant and enchanting when she wore it. She was truly delighted with the gift.
I don't know.
For some reason, Virgil felt the urge to always be with Claire, to the point that he was willing to turn down several auction offers abroad. However, Robert thought Virgil was rushing things. He suggested that Virgil first invite Claire to a romantic dinner. Virgil agreed, and even wanted Robert to join so he could see what Claire was really like, hoping Robert could then give him better advice. Meanwhile, while buying a drink at a cafe, Virgil once again saw the small woman who always muttered numbers. This figure left Virgil puzzled, as if she were haunting his thoughts. At last, the night of the romantic dinner with Claire began.
Claire. Dinner is served. Please be seated. This restaurant in town.
Robert said that the way Virgil treated Claire seemed very natural and impressive. During the inspection of the items, Sarah suddenly came to see Virgil. She confessed that she was afraid of losing Robert because there were so many women around him. Sarah also mentioned that Robert had once told her about a woman named Claire. Hearing this, Virgil immediately grew suspicious. He decided to take the robot frame at once and leave Robert behind.
You're not the trustworthy...
Having grown to fully trust Virgil, Claire finally invited him into her room. The two of them spent time together there. Virgil promised to help Claire overcome her illness and one day take her out of that house. Since the robot was still unfinished, Virgil went back to Robert to make amends. He also explained the reason why he had been angry with him earlier. Robert, in turn, promised to complete the work as long as Virgil would no longer be suspicious of him. After that, Virgil bought a ring for Claire. Strangely, however, that day Claire was nowhere to be found, not in her room, nor anywhere else in the house.
Claire? Claire? Claire?
Virgil then asked the people across the cafe. A man said that he had seen a woman matching her description walking out of the house and heading toward the park.
Here.
You're kidding.
I've looked everywhere.
Even with the help of Fred and Robert, Claire was still nowhere to be found. In his panic, Virgil even forgot that the auction was actually being held that very day.
Lot number 1, surrounded by carvings of fruit and mouse. Columns flank the door.
Virgil was certain that Claire must still be somewhere. Given her condition, it seemed impossible for her to disappear so suddenly. Feeling confused, Virgil confided in Billy, the only person he trusted besides Robert. He wondered why Claire had suddenly vanished, even though her emotions and mood had seemed to improve lately. But Billy doubted Virgil's certainty. He said that human feelings were like a work of art. They could be faked. Happiness, sadness, hatred, even love could be made to appear real. Increasingly anxious, Virgil could only sit in silence, staring at hundreds of paintings of women. Finally, Robert called and asked if it was possible that there was another secret room in Claire's house. Virgil then began thoroughly inspecting every corner of the house again, and this time, he tried going up to the attic.
There are no other secret rooms.
The reason Claire always hid was because she feared losing Virgil. She recalled her past when she once dated her first and only boyfriend at a restaurant called Nike Enda. On that day, however, her boyfriend was hit by a car and died. Since then, Claire had been traumatized and never left the house again. Caught up in the moment, that night Virgil ended up sleeping next to Claire. The next day, he recounted the experience to Robert. Virgil said it was his first time, and he hadn't been able to sleep all night, being completely captivated by Claire's beauty and elegance. Afterward, Virgil planned to take Claire out of the house. In a nearly fainting state, Virgil tried to call Claire. Seeing him collapsed, Claire finally mustered the courage to leave her house. With all her strength, she ran toward Virgil.
Virgil?
While being taken to the hospital, Virgil saw Claire accompanying him. From that moment on, Virgil truly believed that Claire was his true love. The incident ultimately helped Claire recover from her illness. Virgil then invited her into his house. Aside from the servants, Claire was the only person Virgil had ever allowed inside. They shared something in common. Both enjoyed solitude and were afraid of interacting with others. Not stopping there, Virgil even took Claire to his secret room, a space filled with extremely expensive paintings of women.
So who got me?
Claire was truly amazed by Virgil's collection, and it made her feel completely at ease. She then hugged Virgil with deep emotion and said,
I want you to know that I do love you.
I love you too.
The catalog of items from Claire's house to be auctioned was finally completed. However, after seeing the catalog, Claire suddenly changed her mind. She said that since living with Virgil, she no longer wanted to sell her belongings. Claire requested that all the items be returned to the house as they were, and Virgil agreed.
We'll be back in its place.
Virgil, yes! Very good.
Fortunate catalogue of my career.
Virgil said that next week he would hold an auction in London, the best and also the final one of his career. As the event was about to begin, Virgil called Claire and told her that everyone attending was very enthusiastic about it.
We're ready, Mr. Oldman.
I'm coming £100,000. Any more? 500. Sold. Thank you.
Billy came to see Virgil to say farewell. As an artist, Billy wanted to give one of his paintings as a final keepsake, even though Virgil had always refused it before and never appreciated his work. This time, however, Virgil gladly accepted it. Upon arriving home, Claire was not there. The servant said she might have gone out with Sarah and Robert as usual. Virgil then saw the portrait of Claire's mother and intended to place it in his secret room. All of Virgil's paintings were gone, not a single one left. In the corner of the room, there stood a robot built by Robert named Hawkinson, which had now been fully assembled. The robot then said, "There is always something genuine hidden behind a forgery."
There is always something authentic concealed in every forgery. Like Mr. Oldman?
Now Virgil had lost his sanity and had to be admitted to a mental hospital. Occasionally, Labar would come to visit him. While there, Virgil's mind was constantly flooded with flashbacks of everything that had happened after he lost all of his paintings. He remembered a note on the back of a portrait of Claire's mother, which had actually been made by Billy. Virgil then went to Claire's house only to find it empty and chained up with a padlock. He returned to sit and wait at the cafe across the street, hoping to catch a glimpse of Claire or Fred. At the cafe, he saw again a small woman who was always busy counting something. The woman had an extraordinary memory, and it turned out she was the real Claire. She could even accurately recall how many times Virgil had come to the cafe, as well as how many times she had seen the fake Claire leave the house, 237 times. This meant that Claire had actually been perfectly healthy and had only been pretending to be ill all along. The truth was revealed. The house Virgil frequently visited did indeed belong to Claire, but for the past 2 years, it had been rented out to a group of filmmakers. Now, the house was empty after they had left. Virgil briefly considered reporting this to the police, but he realized he could also be arrested for manipulating the actual prices of the paintings he had auctioned. In the end, all he could do was reminisce about the beauty of his time with the fake Claire. He still clearly remembered Claire's words in the secret room. "No matter what happens, I will always be with you, Virgil." That was why Virgil still hoped that one day Claire would return to his arms. He tried contacting her repeatedly, but his calls were never answered. He even went so far as to move to Prague just so he could frequently visit a restaurant called Night and Day, Claire's favorite spot, hoping to reunite with his true love.